Hello, YouTube. I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. If you are interested in purchasing my book, I will go ahead and leave a link down in the description box below. Today, I want to talk to you about some things that make me angry. And I'm trying to think of how to put this into something that makes sense. When I was in my let me try this again. I have always worked low-wage jobs. I got a degree in computers in my early 20s. I believe that the dot-com bubble burst in September of 2001, and I graduated high school. I graduated college in September of 2001. So all of those jobs that they couldn't fill fast enough that I had been going to college for, and that dot-com bubble lasted for 10 years. All of those jobs that I was training myself and going to college for were not available. So I had to take whatever job I could. And then your past experience sort of dictates what sort of job you have in the future. So I was always stuck working in retail and call centers because those are the only jobs that were available when I graduated college, and I had bills to pay. That was a little bit of bad luck, but that's why I always had to work two jobs. I did what I had to do. And I get a lot of, and it's not self-righteous anger, it's just righteous anger about a couple of things. The first one being ultra hyper consumerism. And this leads to a whole bunch of problems. For starters, when people don't make the income to support it, they use credit, they never save for retirement, and then they complain all along the way that it's not enough. And then when they retire and they realize that all they're going to get is a small Social Security check, then they complain that that's not enough. But they had 45 years in the workforce to save for it. Like I said, I worked low-wage call center and retail jobs, so I wasn't making I wasn't making the big bucks. I had to work twice as hard for half as much, and it sucked. And that was the hand that I was dealt, and it is what it is. Fortunately, I was able to. I am pretty much retired. I do YouTube, but I am not forced to work anymore. And I think that a lot of people who this is on both sides. People who have higher incomes look down on people for not earning enough, not working enough. And I'm one of those people because I went through it. I'm one of those people who looks at people and say, why don't you work more? Why don't you spend less? Why don't you quit buying a brand new car? Why didn't you buy a smaller house? Stuff like that. And then, these people just complain that it's never enough. And then on the other side, the poor people cry entitlement. You don't give me enough food stamps. You don't give me enough Section 8. The rent is too high. You don't provide me with enough benefits to pay for my children's child care. And it goes both ways. And the fact is that we live in a first world country where people are spoiled rotten. I have gotten on YouTube, I have gotten job shamed, I've gotten house shamed. It's always a keyboard warriors who say this sort of stuff, and it's just I just roll my eyes. I'm like, do you have anything better to say? Anything, some sort of give me some sort of life altering aha moment. Instead of this just, you're a big butt face and I don't like you. That's what it feels like. All these, it's you're a stupid head and a butt face. That's what it feels like. And it's oh God. I don't really even talk about it that much, very much, but it's just oh, shut up. You're just so annoying. You think you're being mean and hurting my feelings. It's you're so annoying. That's all it is, an annoyance. It's not anger. It's just annoying me. but you've got all these people that are from a first world, and they spend every penny that they make on anything that suits their fancy. The Starbucks, and I'm not, Starbucks once in a while is fine. Starbucks 5 times a day is fine if you can afford it. Whatever floats your fancy. But people don't realize that there are third world countries. We're a first world country. We have everything available at our fingertips that we take for granted so much. We have clean running water. We have electricity that is stable for them. I mean, it goes out occasionally, but when I say occasionally, I mean like once a year? I mean, we have stable internet. We have roads. We have cars. There are people that I have seen on my travels overseas that live in what we would call a shed made out of scrap materials that here in the United States we throw away. Like, they have a corrugated metal roof, and it's just, there's no, I mean, we think, okay, attic, roofing structure, asphalt shingles. No, like, they just, insulation, they don't have any of that stuff. And they've got, 12 by 12, there's a 12 by 12 house that has 8 people living in it, 2 generations, with a dirt floor. And, no electricity. Like, maybe they have electricity, but they have no running water, no hot water, nothing like that. They've got one change of clothes. That's it. And these are not places that are like out in the middle of nowhere. These are not like out in the middle of the desert or anything. These are places that have skyscrapers and restaurants and buildings, and people live like this because they can't and it's not because they can't afford something better. There is literally no opportunity available. There is not a job to be had. The way that people get enough money for food is by robbing other people because that's their only option. Like, I'm not kidding. There is not a single job available. Like, there is zero opportunity. And here in the United States, every opportunity is provided to you to succeed and build wealth. So if you are not able to build wealth off of even a minimum wage job, you look at, you're just like, why do you keep spending all of your money? Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to leave a video, a link to a video in the description box. It was this reporter from BBC who went to Cuba. And, people can say you get what you vote for. I'm sure that a million people are going to put that in the comment section. But look, Cuba, Venezuela, Argentina, all these places with super hyper bad inflation, North Korea with dictatorships. You can't say you get what you vote for because some of these things were voted in 2 generations ago. Not my mom or my dad. It was like my grandma and my grandpa or my great grandma and my great grandpa. It has nothing to do with the next generations coming down. But once a government gets total control, they're not going to give it back up. They're not going to give it back up. So these people that are living in these situations now have absolutely nothing to do with how these votes took place. So keep that in mind. But there's this BBC reporter who goes to Cuba, and they're talking about so Cuba has like 95% of their food is imported, including their water. They don't have running water, so they all have like rain catchment systems on top of like hotels, motels, and houses. And they just use that water for bathing. They don't take the time to boil it and distill it and clean it and all this other stuff because it's a really long process. But so there they have these like ration cards, or you get $2, like all of your housing and healthcare and everything's paid for, but you get $2 per month as an income. That's your income in Cuba, unless you do something else. But the government will provide you with $2 a month income and your basic necessities of life are taken care of. What are your basic necessities of life? Pretty much rice and beans, 1 tube of toothpaste, 1 bar of soap a month, maybe some cooking oil, and that's pretty much it. That's, you have to save up for 6 months in order to buy a chicken to eat, to eat a food chicken. It takes like a month's wage to buy a loaf of bread. And that's something in the Bible, a day's wage it'll take a day's wage to buy your food. That's already happening in, seems like a third of the world already. But this guy goes there, and for breakfast, they have, he goes to a family in Cuba, and, let's go through a day of what you eat in a day. And it's a grandma or a mom, I can't really tell, and like 2 women who live there, possibly the daughters or granddaughters. And for breakfast, all they have is a small shot of like black coffee. I don't know if it's espresso or regular coffee, but that's it. That's all they have, because they have to ration their food. And they have chickens in the backyard and some banana trees and like a tomato plants. And they have a small, it's a tiny backyard, but they're growing what they can to supplement. And then the guy's like, that's it? Like no eggs or bread or jam and jelly, pancake, nothing like that. She's like, no, that's all we have. That's it. Just a little shot of coffee. And the guy's like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this whole day. And then he goes to lunch, and they go to this place where like a lot of people work, and they have like a cantina, a government cantina, where they give you free lunch. It was rice and beans and like some potatoes. That the potatoes looked pretty darn good. I would have eaten all those potatoes, but it was rice, beans, and potatoes. And so he's like, okay, it's all right. It's okay. So he goes back to the family's house for dinner, and it's rice and beans. And they had chickens in their backyard, so they were able to fry up some eggs, and they have banana trees, so they had fried bananas, and they had eggs, and they cut up like one tomato. And that was it for everybody. You got rice, beans, like a fried egg, and a slice of tomato. And that's it. So, and their house was very small, but it was the average house for a family of 3. It was pretty small. One thing that I noticed, I think I saw in the background, was like we have washing machines for our laundry. And I used to have this portable washing machine that was like a 7-gallon washing machine that I used back in Arizona. I actually prefer it over the washing machine that I have now, except for like doing comforters and large things. But it's really great for just weekly laundry. It uses less laundry, takes less time anyway. And that's what they had for their family of 3. They had a little tiny portable washing machine that we get for like $100 here in the U.S. That probably would have been who knows how many years of salary for them in Cuba. And the same goes for places, and I'll put a link down in the description. It's only a 7-minute long video, and it's actually really good. It's really enlightening based on their rationing system. And then there's one there. I've seen ones of North Korea where, all of the elite, it's a dictatorship. They went and took everybody's dogs. Anybody who had a dog, the government came and took their dog and they turned it into food. Like they took their pets. I can't imagine. Little Rocky and Noller asleep on the couch. I would, Second Amendment, that's all I'm saying. If somebody came to take my dog, Second Amendment. But yeah, they took their dogs. And then these people who grow food in North Korea, there's these collective farms that have like hundreds, if not thousands of people growing food in horrible soil conditions. They actually have to collect human feces in order to make fertilizer. And then all of the food that grows has worms, like parasite worms. So if you eat oh my gosh, it's awful. But all these collective farms, they spend all their, it's like having a farm here in the United States where you grow corn. And then the government comes in and takes all your corn and distributes it among the people, and you don't get paid anything. And you're lucky if you get two things, not even 2 kernels of corn, not 2 ears of corn, 2 kernels. That's the way that it works in other countries. And we here in the United States are so spoiled. And people always say, I can't eat so little, or my husband would not approve, or I can't get my kids to eat that, or, I can't live without my Diet Coke. It's like, what's wrong with you? And people are broke. They're like, I can't live without my Diet Coke and my bagel bites, but I have no money. I can't live without my 2024 Toyota Tacoma, but I have no money. I'm paycheck to paycheck. I can't have anything smaller than a 4-bedroom house. It has to be a minimum of 2,200 square feet, or it is just not going to work for me and my family. That's just not going to work. 2,200 square feet, really? And it's funny how people, I moved into this house. It was a total fixer-upper. And people look in the background and they say I have a big swanky house. Big swanky house. Y'all remember how to find a cheap house video? Yeah, y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Close to a power line, no garage, 1 bathroom. Small, 1,000 square feet, in need of improvement. They're like, you live in a swanky house. Are you FSing me? I'm a Christian woman. I can't say bad words. Are you effing S-ing me? I live in a 1,000 square foot house with no garage, close to a power pole, in a tiny town of 8,000 people. My swanky house. Is it the couch? Is that what it is? Is it the couch that makes it swanky, or is it the paint? I bet it's the paint. The paint cost a whole $26. Oh, gosh. I think that everybody in the United States... Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't join the military because I was taking care of my mother with cancer, but I wanted to be a Marine. I think that everybody who wants to be a U.S. citizen, who's not born in the United States, who wants to be a U.S. citizen, should serve in the military for a minimum of 2 years. Anybody who wants to join the workforce should be required to work in retail or as a waiter or waitress for a minimum of 1 year. Anyone who is allowed to have, before you're allowed to have internet connection, keyboard warriors, before you're allowed to have internet connection or get a credit card, you need to visit a third world country for a minimum of 6 months. And then you'll see how good you have it. That's what I have to say. I'm sorry. That's why I get so angry about, and I'm not an anti-consumer, but I'm against ultra hyper uber consumerism. And it's why I don't understand hoarding. I don't understand it. I can't understand. I understand people say it's a mental disorder, but why do these people in these other countries not have it? It's like what is that when you throw up? Bulimia? Yeah, bulimia and anorexia. There's certain countries and certain cultures where being a heavier woman is very sexy. And it doesn't exist in those countries. So it has, in my opinion, some sort of culture has to do with these maladies. There has to be some sort of culture that has to do with it. So people who, job shame and complain that they don't have enough, the entitlements, I get somewhat, I always say check yourself. check yourself. But what I really want to say is, you stupid. Y'all need to go visit a foreign country. And people who complain that nothing is ever good enough, y'all need to visit a third world country. People who, just upgrade everything every year, please visit a third world country. People who literally, there are places like in Venezuela right now. I saw a video with this couple who had a son. They were teachers, and they made, with all the hyperinflation and stuff going on, they made so little money that each parent had to take, they would eat every other day. So the husband would eat Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then the mother would eat Sunday, I can't think, Saturday, Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, whatever it is, so that their son could eat. So they only got to eat. And then the lady showed a piece of cheese. It wasn't even that much cheese. It was maybe this thick and this wide. It was just a little tiny, tiny block of cheese. And that was 4 days wages for her, for that little tiny block of cheese that she could add to her son's empanadas. That's it. 4 days wage for a block of cheese. It was an ultra super uber luxury. And people are I can't live without my Diet Coke. I joke about saying I can't live without coffee. I joke about it. I promise you I can. I just don't want to. And I have no need to give up coffee. I mean, I make a very good income, and for me, it's average income, but very good income from what I'm used to. And I can more than afford to, and I make it myself. I can more than afford the coffee. But if worse comes to worse, no more coffee. It's just the way it is. But I think that's, I don't know if I'm articulating this correctly. I don't know how I have so many subscribers. I am horrible with words sometimes, or with getting my thoughts out into words in it, making it understandable for other people. I feel like sometimes I say a million things and I feel like I still didn't get my point across, but I hope that you guys understand. This is why I'm all for minimal. Well, not just the only reason for minimalism. I think minimalism works for me. I'm not against people who are maximalists. I just think that you'd have people always complain about not having enough money, and that companies don't pay enough, and that the government doesn't give enough Social Security, and I want high interest earnings on my checking account, but I want really low interest rates on my mortgage that I don't plan on, that I got a 60-year mortgage on, because they offer 60-year mortgages now. Okay, I'm going to stop. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.